So yesterday I watched the 2014 movie Maleficent, which happens to be one of my favorite movies actually. I'd like to talk about the character of Maleficent as filling the role of a messianic Christ figure, which I'm sure many of you will find uh, uh, maybe even objectionable, but that's the whole point. You see in the movie it shows her growing up, and by the way, this could be, spoiler alert here. Grows up, beautiful girl. She's sweet. She's innocent. She's got fabulous power and depth, and then through the course of events, she turns into this Maleficent character. In fact, if you haven't seen the movie, you should probably go watch the movie before you watch the rest of this video. Um, so yeah, go watch the movie and then watch this video. You'll know what I'm talking about. And so in the film, she has the appearance of evil. She looks like a witch, right? She's got these horns. She's got this white face, red lipstick, and she looks like some kind of a demon lady, right? And yet, what she actually does is very profound, and in almost every case, entirely what she should have done. In fact, I don't know that I can argue that she ever did that which she should not have done. And so, if you were to recast that movie with what one might imagine as a beautiful white fairy creature, if she had the visage of a beautiful white fairy creature, beautiful blonde hair, no horns, and did all the exact same things, said the exact same things, nobody would raise an eyebrow, because the role works either way, whether she looks like this fey witch or a fairy angel. The role works either way. And so the example that she shows, though, is one of true love. In fact, that's one of the main messages of the film, is that this Maleficent character, although she appears evil, she is one who is a possessor of true love. She has compassion, and in the end she sacrifices her life for the girl. And not only does she sacrifice her life for the girl, but it is her true love which is able to break the spell which she herself had cast to raise her from the dead, as it were, from that profound sleep. And so we see all these messianic Christ symbols woven throughout her character. Now, what's interesting is, to me anyway, is that the perception we have is based on what she looks like. And so, based on what she looks like, we think, oh, there's an evil person. And yet, she is not evil, she is good. She loves the forest, she loves the forest creature. Even when she's in a bit of a dark mood, she's still going around healing the plants, healing the trees, taking care of all the creatures within her domain. And she never loses sight of that, ever. So one of the main points I'd like to make with this video is that we all think that we know what God looks like. We all think that we know what God is like. And the reality is that we don't. In fact, our perception of what God is like is, in almost every case, wildly inaccurate. And what's even more interesting is that if you're really going to be honest, it may be true that your view of God is much more like Maleficent, the visage of Maleficent, than you might care to admit. Maybe you don't think that God is particularly loving. Maybe you don't think that he does particularly love you, and that he's a stone cold, aloof, distant, non-caring, evil witch. And so we tend to give him the visage and the attributes that we feel based on our own misconceptions and our own misunderstanding, and as a result of our own sins. But what is the reality? If you peel back all the layers, what will you truly find? And same thing with this character Maleficent. If you peel back all the layers, what was she inside? She was a beautiful white goddess who is filled with perfect love, who is willing to sacrifice everything she is. She only wants to do what's best, and she's a dispenser of not just love, but of justice. And so, yeah, there's a lot of deep thoughts there. Maybe when you go and watch that movie the next time, you'll have some more to chew on in terms of how you contemplate and consider and comprehend that character of Maleficent. So maybe we also need to realize too that, as I've said before, our own perceptions of God are in fact wildly inaccurate, and maybe we're attaching to him characteristics and values which he doesn't even have. Maybe the reality is although he is full of love, he's also full of truth. And if you were to meet him today and you were to have a conversation with him, it's very likely that the truth he would have to share would seem and feel very cutting, very hard, very insensitive, very mean. And it's very possible that you would be inclined to think of him not so much as a beautiful white god, but as a darksome, malicious, black witch fairy creature, like Maleficent is typically cast as being. But what's underneath all that? And so we need to ask ourselves, do we really even understand what love is? What is true love? What is true love? Is it always being nice all the time? Kind and caring, and kind of your Care Bear, happy, kind fairy creature? Or is love something much more than that? Is love the willingness to sacrifice? Is love the willingness to do what's best, to say what's best, even if it hurts? Is love the embodiment of truth? And are you able and willing to abide that truth? Most people aren't. Most people aren't. And that's perhaps the main reason why we're not able or willing to abide the presence of God, is because we're not willing or able to abide the truth that he would share, that he would manifest, and we would instantly burn into a carbon crisp, and that'd be it. So the thing that I struggle with the most is I try to share with my wife, my children, my parents, and loved ones a little bit more about who God is and what God is, and also to shed light on the awful situation we face in mortality. Is everybody has this idea that God is this nothing but this kind, caring, limp-wristed, give you a hug little snowman that just wants to love everybody all the time, and never says anything that might be hurtful or mean or cutting. And so they reject everything that does not affirm their beliefs about him, that does not affirm their beliefs about the world and reality, and doesn't give them a warm fuzzy inside. And I find that this is probably one of the most defeating beliefs and perspectives that we have. And so it's interesting how the greatest warriors for Christ are in fact warriors. They're the ones who can take the heat. They're the ones who will ask you to give them the truth with the bark on. Don't hold back. Don't candy coat it. Don't sugarcoat it. Don't water it down. Just give me the truth with the bark on so that I know what I have to deal with and I know how I need to improve. And that's what God gives us. He does give us line upon line, precept upon precept. But you need to understand that those lines and those precepts are going to hurt. They're going to be difficult. They're going to be hard to accept. And we will find that they are counterintuitive and that they often hurt. They challenge what we thought was true. And so if we're not willing to be humble and to endure the pain, the suffering, and the lack of affirmation, understand that maybe you're not nearly as smart as you thought you were, not nearly as good and humble and kind and caring and righteous as you thought you were, you're not nearly as spiritual as you thought you were, and maybe you were wrong about a long list of very, very important things. If you're not willing to consider that and to accept that and to endure the pain and suffering that comes along with that acknowledgement, that understanding, you're not going to make it. In order to receive salvation, in order to walk the path from wherever you're at to salvation and exaltation, it's a thorny, stony path, and you're going to have to walk through the fire again and again. And it's not easy, and it's definitely not going to feel like it's kind. And yet the outcome is the most kind, loving, wonderful, joyful thing that there is. You know, it's interesting. I keep a list on my phone of all the topics that I'd like to do YouTube videos on. And this list of topics I'd like to talk about and do videos on and expound upon, it always grows faster than I'm able to crank these out. One of the biggest reasons for that is I have these topics and these thoughts I'd like to discuss, and the reason I don't do the videos is because I feel like I need to take the time to do some more research and to do a better job than I am able to do just speaking off the cuff. And so one of the things I need to repent of is to take the time to do that. That's kind of, I guess, unrelated to the rest of what I've talked about here, but I want you guys to understand that there's so much that God has revealed to me that I understand and that I'm working to apply in my life that I'd like to share, but I'm very, very limited by my circumstances and by the willingness of others to even consider the things that I would have to say. And that's a metaphor for God. Now that I would put myself even in the same universe as Him, but it's a type and a shadow. If I, little Jared over here with little peanut brain, can only share just a small amount of what passes through my mind and my heart, what the Lord reveals to me, think about how God feels, who is infinitely better and infinitely smarter than I am. And so, there's so much to be revealed. There's so much for us to learn. There's so much for us to gain by opening our minds and hearts to the truth of God, understanding that it's going to be painful. There's going to be suffering. We're going to have to pass through the fire. We're going to have to pass tests, and we're going to have to be obedient and true and faithful in all things as we ascend and we grow in light and truth. But that's the path. There is no other path. There is no other path to truth and righteousness and the joy of the saints, which is unspeakable. And so it's it would help if we maybe understood a little bit more about what we're truly capable of. If God were to reveal to you in a vision, here's what you're capable of doing right now, how would that affect what you do right now? And maybe that's something that you could pray about. Maybe something that I should pray about more, for the Lord to reveal to me what I am truly capable of right now and how to do that. And He actually has given me tools. He's given me tools on how to that I can take advantage of to learn how I can be better, and techniques and strategies to employ in my life for reaching and growing and becoming more like Him. And so the biggest one is to be willing to take the chastening. Be willing to take the chastening. Well, go watch the movie Maleficent if you haven't. I think it's 2014. It's a great show. And think about what I said about that character Maleficent as a messianic Christ figure and the similarities she has. And, what if they had cast her as a beautiful white fairy creature instead of a black, forbidding, witch-like character? It would have worked either way, but it shows us directly our own lack of perception, our own prejudices, and our own faulty views of reality. So I hope that you'll take this and roll with it.